She served him coffee every morning, never knowing he was the man who controlled an empire. One glance would change both their lives forever. Welcome back, my wonderful family and friends. If you're tuned in and ready to dive into today's story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Tomorrow, I'll be bringing you another exciting story you definitely don't want to miss. So, let's get started. The morning sun filtered through the tall glass windows of Café Lumière, casting golden streaks across polished tables. Sophia moved with effortless grace behind the counter, her hands gliding over cups and plates, her smile warm but practiced. Every morning, the same ritual. Steam rising from the espresso machine, soft jazz humming in the background, regulars chatting quietly. She had built this life deliberately, simple, grounded, removed from the chaos of her other world. Sophia was meticulous, disciplined, yet there was a softness to her, a quiet kindness that drew people in. She greeted each customer by name, remembered their orders, and always managed to make them feel like the only person in the room. She didn't expect anything in return. She simply enjoyed the rhythm of her mornings. Across town, Ethan sat in his sleek high-rise office, the city sprawling beneath him. Dark suits and polished shoes, glass walls and digital tickers, millions passing through his hands each day. But today, his thoughts weren't on business. He had caught glimpses of someone new, someone intriguing, passing by the cafe across the street. A woman with laughter like sunlight and eyes that held stories she hadn't shared. Ethan was a man of calculated control. Every investment, every decision, every interaction meticulously planned. Yet when he watched her from the street, a strange unpredictability stirred within him, a pull he hadn't felt in years. The coffee, the simple smile, the way she moved without pretense. It was alien and intoxicating. The first encounter happened on a rainy Thursday. Sophia handed him a steaming latte, her fingers brushing his as she offered a polite, "Here you go." Ethan had glanced at her briefly, caught by the curve of her lips, the ease of her smile. "Thanks," he murmured, his voice rougher than he intended. Sophia's eyes met his, and for the briefest moment, time paused. The cafe's ambient sounds, the hiss of steam, the clink of spoons, the soft chatter, faded around them. And yet, they didn't speak beyond the words exchanged. A subtle recognition passed between them, a fleeting spark neither could define. Back in his office, Ethan found himself replaying the moment. A cup of coffee? A casual smile? Nothing extraordinary. Yet he couldn't shake it. Something about her, authenticity, warmth, a hidden depth, haunted his thoughts. He didn't know why it mattered so much, but it did. Meanwhile, Sophia wiped down the counter, her mind elsewhere. She felt the unusual weight of being observed, the curious sense that her routine had just been disrupted. Yet, she couldn't place why a simple interaction had left her feeling off balance. Something about him, the way he watched, subtly but intently, disturbed her calm. The day ended. Sophia closed the cafe, switching off the lights and locking the door, leaving behind the gentle hum of the day. Ethan walked past once more, his eyes lingering on her through the glass. Neither realized that the universe had begun weaving threads between them, delicate yet unbreakable. Cliffhanger. The following morning, Ethan would reappear at the cafe, again seemingly ordinary, but something about that second encounter would make Sophia start questioning everything she thought she knew about him. And little did she know, he was hiding a secret worth millions. Comment below. Have you ever felt a connection at first glance? What would you do if someone intrigued you like that? Share your thoughts. The next morning, the city was wrapped in a soft drizzle. Café Lumière smelled of freshly ground coffee and warm pastries, steam curling from the machines like whispers of secrets. Sophia adjusted her apron, not yet aware that today would break her routine. Ethan walked in, raincoat slightly damp, hair tousled, his expression unreadable. But today, his presence carried weight, a quiet intensity that made Sophia's pulse quicken. He ordered the usual, a latte, but lingered longer at the counter, scanning the cafe as though it held clues to something he hadn't yet understood. Sophia handed him the cup, their fingers brushing once again. She noticed the subtle warmth in his gaze, the way he lingered a fraction longer than necessary. A shiver ran down her spine, a combination of curiosity and unease. She didn't know why she felt this pull toward a man she barely knew. As Ethan sipped the latte, his eyes followed her discreetly. Today, he allowed himself a small smile, a crack in the controlled facade he wore like armor. For the first time in years, the world outside his office, the ordinary mundane rhythm of life, felt vivid. She moved with grace, unaware of how every gesture was carving a place in his mind. Minutes stretched. He watched as she helped a young child drop a crumpled bill into the tip jar, patiently explaining how to order a hot chocolate. Her kindness, her warmth, her unassuming elegance. It was intoxicating. And yet, there was something she wasn't revealing. The way she carried herself hinted at a life far beyond the modest café. Ethan's instincts sharpened. Billionaires are trained to notice opportunity, but some instincts, like the ones pulling him toward Sophia, can't be measured. Suddenly, a small mishap broke the quiet. A tray of pastries wobbled dangerously. Sophia lunged to save it, narrowly preventing disaster. Ethan caught her arm instinctively. Their eyes met, electricity sparking silently between them. "You okay?" he asked, voice lower, almost hesitant. "I'm fine," Sophia replied, heart racing. But the moment lingered far longer than it should have. Something about the intensity of his attention made her stomach flutter, a combination of attraction and anxiety. After he left, Sophia's mind raced. Why did he make her feel observed, significant? And why did she feel a strange sense of vulnerability she hadn't allowed herself in years? Meanwhile, Ethan returned to his office, but the encounter haunted him. Something about her grace under pressure, her unassuming strength was magnetic. He found himself replaying the brief touch of hands, the glance they shared, the warmth in her eyes. And yet, a gnawing sense of doubt settled in. He had built walls around himself, shields designed to protect him from exactly this kind of unpredictability. That evening, Sophia stepped into the quiet of her apartment. She set down her bag and stared out the window, the neon city lights reflecting in her eyes. There was a sense that life was shifting, imperceptibly yet irrevocably. Something had begun, something that neither she nor Ethan could ignore. The next day, Ethan would linger longer in the café, engaging Sophia in conversation. But when a familiar colleague from his empire walks past the café, he must hide his identity. Sophia, oblivious, begins to sense a layer of mystery she cannot yet unravel. And that secret will threaten the fragile spark growing between them. Comment below. Have you ever felt that instant connection with a stranger? What would you do if someone seemed too intriguing to ignore? Share your thoughts. The morning light poured through the cafe windows, casting a soft glow over the polished counters and the hum of brewing coffee. Sophia moved with her usual efficiency, yet there was a quiet tension beneath her practiced calm. Her mind kept replaying Ethan's gaze, the brief touch of his hand, and the strange warmth that lingered long after he left. But pride, and a lifetime of self-reliance told her to ignore it. She told herself, he's just a customer. Nothing more. Don't let curiosity fool you. And yet, each time the door chimed, her pulse skipped, her eyes scanning reflexively for him. Ethan, meanwhile, was struggling with his own internal storm. In his office high above the city, surrounded by the trappings of unimaginable wealth, he tried to focus on numbers, deals, and spreadsheets. Yet every decision, every email, felt dull compared to the memory of her laughter, the soft confidence in her voice. He reminded himself, I can't let a cafe encounter compromise everything I've built. She's ordinary, but extraordinary. He couldn't reconcile the contradiction. And so he resisted, attending meetings with his usual sharpness, but glancing at the clock, wondering if she had opened the cafe yet. Days passed in a rhythm of stolen glances and near encounters. Sophia found herself unintentionally lingering at the counter, preparing a drink just in case he came in, while Ethan hovered at the edges of interaction, offering polite smiles but maintaining distance. Then, the first real challenge arrived. A high-profile investor unexpectedly dropped by Ethan's company cafe location, demanding a meeting that conflicted with his usual routine. He had to choose: maintain the carefully controlled facade of his life, or take the risk of revealing interest in someone outside his world. Sophia, on the other hand, was presented with an ethical dilemma of her own. A wealthy customer requested she alter an order in a way that would compromise her principles. She felt the weight of control over her small world, clashing with her fascination for this enigmatic man who somehow made her feel less constrained yet more vulnerable. Their paths crossed briefly, tension mounting in the briefest of moments. Ethan offered to help with the customer's request, but quickly pulled back, leaving Sophia frustrated, confused, and oddly exhilarated. Why can't he just, she thought. The connection hung between them like an unspoken question neither could answer. When Sophia accidentally catches Ethan in a subtle act of kindness, donating to a homeless shelter anonymously, her curiosity piques. But when she questions him, he deflects, leaving a thread of mystery that tightens the emotional knot between them. Each wants to reach out, yet both resist, afraid to dismantle the walls protecting them from vulnerability. Comment below. Have you ever met someone who made your heart race but your mind hesitate? What would you do? Follow your heart or guard it? Share your story. Sometimes, life forces two worlds to collide, and hearts to unravel. It was a rainy Thursday morning when fate decided to intervene. Sophia's cafe, usually quiet in the early hours, buzzed with an unexpected crowd as the city streets flooded with water from the sudden downpour. Customers shuffled in, dripping umbrellas in hand, and the tiny space became almost claustrophobic. Sophia was juggling orders with practiced grace, balancing coffee cups and receipts, when a familiar voice called out, "Need a hand?" Ethan's presence startled her. She hadn't expected him to come in, especially not in the middle of a storm. He wore a simple coat and jeans, blending in with the crowd, but his eyes held that same intensity, that unspoken understanding that sent her pulse racing. The storm outside forced them into close quarters behind the counter. Ethan, normally commanding in his office, now moved awkwardly in the tight space, helping Sophia carry trays, mop up spilled coffee, and calm frustrated customers. Every brush of his hand against hers sparked tension neither wanted to admit. Their conversation was minimal, mostly practical. "We need more napkins," she said. "Table 6 spilled again," he replied. Yet beneath the surface, emotions simmered. Sophia's heart betrayed her resolve, while Ethan found himself drawn to her confidence, her humor, and the quiet authority she held in her small domain. Something his money had never bought him. Then came the moment that changed everything. A young boy, drenched and shivering, ran into the cafe, clutching a small dog. Sophia instinctively took the dog from him, wrapping it in a towel, but the boy panicked over the spilled coffee. Ethan stepped forward, gently guiding the boy to a dry corner, speaking with patience and warmth that made Sophia see him in a new light. He wasn't just mysterious, he was compassionate. As the rain eased, the crowd thinned, but they remained side by side, awkwardly close. Words stumbled between them, pauses filled with glances, small smiles, and shared laughter. Their proximity made it impossible to ignore the spark, the growing bond neither could fully articulate. Just as they finally share a quiet, lingering look, the cafe door swings open. A rival business tycoon, one of Ethan's associates, walks in, instantly recognizing him. His gaze flicks toward Sophia, suspicion and curiosity lighting up his expression. Ethan stiffens. His secret is at risk, and the delicate moment shatters. Comment below. Have you ever been thrown into a situation where someone unexpected forced you to confront your feelings? Would you fight it or surrender to the moment? Some truths change everything, and the heart must decide if it can forgive. The next morning, the cafe was unusually quiet. Sophia stood behind the counter, her thoughts still tangled from yesterday's storm and the unexpected proximity to Ethan. She tried to focus on work, but the memory of his touch lingered brief, electric, and undeniable. Ethan arrived early not to meet her, but to take care of unfinished business. His life was complicated, a world of high-stakes deals and guarded secrets that few ever glimpsed. Yet he found himself drawn back to this small café, to her. As they began their morning routine, Sophia accidentally knocked over a stack of receipts, sending papers flying across the floor. Ethan bent down to help, picking up a small folder that fell open. Inside were documents. Not corporate files, but personal records. A glimpse into her hidden world. He froze. The spreadsheets, the property records, the offshore accounts, it was impossible to ignore. Sophia wasn't just running a small cafe. She owned a network of businesses, investments, and wealth that rivaled his own. The realization hit him like a thunderclap. Every assumption he'd held about her humility, her simplicity, was a carefully curated choice, not necessity. Sophia noticed his pause and the slight stiffening of his posture. "I see you found my little secret," she said with a small, almost shy smile. She didn't explain much, but the tension in her eyes revealed years of solitude, self-reliance, and fear of being misunderstood. For Ethan, it was a revelation and a challenge. How could someone so independent, so capable, remain so grounded, so kind, while wielding immense power? His own world of wealth had often left him lonely, surrounded by people who wanted his money and status, not his heart. The quiet between them deepened. Words felt unnecessary. The space filled with unspoken questions, curiosity, and a spark of attraction that had grown more intense under the weight of revelation. They were now equals, not just in wealth, but in vulnerability and strength. Before Ethan could gather his thoughts, Sophia's phone rang. She answered, her face paling as she listened. On the other end was a voice from her past. A former business partner who had vanished years ago, now threatening to expose secrets that could ruin her carefully hidden life. Ethan noticed the change in her expression and stepped closer. "Who was that?" he asked, but the fear in her eyes said it all. Their fragile bond was about to face its first true test. Comment below. How would you react if someone you admired hid an entire life from you? Would it make you fall harder or back away? When walls start to crumble, hearts begin to speak the truths they've kept hidden. After the tense morning, Sophia closed the cafe early, claiming she needed a personal day. Ethan insisted on accompanying her, offering help under the guise of concern. But really, he couldn't bear to leave her alone. They drove in silence, the hum of the city around them serving as a subtle backdrop to the storm of unspoken emotions. Finally, at a quiet park she often visited to escape her public life, Sophia paused by a small bench overlooking the lake. She sat, shoulders tense, eyes fixed on the gentle ripples of water. Ethan remained standing nearby, unsure whether to step closer or give her space. "You've built so much, and yet you stay humble," he said softly, breaking the silence. "I can't figure you out." Sophia smiled faintly, a mix of amusement and exhaustion. "Maybe because I don't need anyone to see me as more than I am. Being misunderstood. It's safer that way." Ethan moved closer and sat beside her, careful not to crowd. "I used to think wealth defined people. Now I see it doesn't. It's the choices we make that matter. And you've chosen kindness in a world that doesn't always reward it." For the first time in days, Sophia let herself exhale. She shared small pieces of her past, childhood struggles, the reason she built her empire in secret, the losses that taught her self-reliance. Ethan listened, genuinely, without judgment, without awe, just presence. As the afternoon faded into golden sunset, they laughed together over small absurdities, childhood memories, minor cafe disasters, and a shared love for obscure music. The tension eased, replaced with a fragile, real bond. For Ethan, the more he learned, the deeper his admiration grew. For Sophia, the first flicker of trust and maybe love ignited. Just as they shared a quiet moment, Ethan's phone buzzed. A news alert flashed across the screen. A scandal involving Sophia's business empire had gone public. Media outlets were already speculating about leaks and former partners. Sophia's carefully hidden life was now exposed. She froze, panic creeping into her eyes. Ethan grabbed her hand. "Whatever happens, we face it together," he said, but the question lingered. Could this bond survive the storm ahead? Comment below. Would you risk everything for someone who's suddenly your equal in every way, even if it comes with chaos? When secrets are revealed, love is tested in ways neither expected. The morning after the cafe confession, Sophia woke to a storm, figuratively and literally. Rain pelted the window, mirroring the chaos of flashing headlines on her phone. Every major news outlet carried the story, Mystery Billionaire Barista, how Sophia Reynolds kept millions hidden. Her cafe, once a haven, had become a spectacle. Customers were snapping photos, reporters were circling, and the local gossip mill churned faster than ever. Ethan arrived, umbrella in hand, but his presence couldn't calm the tidal wave. I tried calling you all night, he said, voice tight. Are you okay? Sophia's hands shook. Okay? No, Ethan. I'm not okay. Everything I built, everything I protected, it's gone. And now, I can't trust anyone. Not the media, not my partners, maybe not even you. Ethan tried to reach for her, but she pulled back. Wait, I need space. Her words were sharp, defensive, a wall going up again. Ethan's heart sank. He had never felt so powerless in his life. By noon, the cafe was swarming. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed Sophia was using her cafe as a front for corporate manipulation. Others questioned her authenticity. Even loyal staff looked worried, glancing at her nervously. Ethan felt the full weight of the public scrutiny bearing down on them. Then, as if the universe wanted to push them further apart, a former business rival showed up. One who had been watching Sophia for years. Funny how the little barista thought she could hide her empire, he sneered. But everyone sees now. His words were a blade, aimed at Sophia's confidence and at Ethan's patience. For the first time, Ethan saw fear flash in Sophia's eyes. A fear of losing not just her business, but herself. The trust they had been building suddenly seemed fragile, like a glass sculpture poised to shatter. Sophia turned away, tears streaking her face. I can't do this, Ethan. I need to fix my life first. I need to fix me. She stepped out into the rain, leaving Ethan standing alone, heartbroken and desperate. The camera pans to Ethan's face, his hand reaching out, but empty space meeting empty space. The storm outside mirrors the storm in both their hearts. Comment below. Would you fight for love if the world was against it, or let it go to protect yourself? When pride and fear collide, will love survive the ultimate test? Sophia spent the day in solitude, the cafe locked, her mind a whirlwind. Outside, the rain had stopped, but inside, a storm raged. Every image, every headline, every whispered comment replayed in her mind. Was she foolish to trust him? Could she let someone in after everything she had built? Ethan, meanwhile, paced his apartment. His phone buzzed endlessly with messages. Friends, colleagues, even reporters trying to catch a statement. But all he could think of was Sophia. Every memory of her smile, every laugh shared, every fleeting moment they had connected replayed in his mind. He knew he had to act. But how? By evening, he arrived at the cafe. The door was locked, but the light inside revealed Sophia sitting at the counter, head in her hands, her posture rigid, broken. Ethan approached slowly. Sophia, he started, voice soft, careful. I'm not here to lecture. I can't stop thinking about you, about us. Sophia lifted her head, eyes red from crying. Us? Ethan. Do you see what's happening outside? The world, everyone knows. They won't see me the same way again. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I don't care about the world. Care about you. I care about what we could have. Silence hung in the air. Sophia's defenses battled her heart. Pride and fear warred with desire and trust. She closed her eyes, remembering their laughter, the quiet moments in the cafe, the way he had looked at her. Not at her money, but at her. Finally, she spoke, voice trembling. I'm terrified, Ethan. I don't know if I'm ready to be seen like this. Ethan reached for her hand, gentle but insistent. Then let me help you. Let me stand with you. We don't have to face the world alone. Sophia looked at him for what felt like an eternity. Every doubt, every fear, every scar from the past weighed heavy. But then she saw sincerity, patience, and love reflected in his eyes. A promise that this wasn't about wealth, power, or status. This was about them. She exhaled, letting her hand slide into his. Okay, we'll face it together. The camera pans out, showing them holding hands as the cafe lights glow warmly. Outside, paparazzi flashbulbs ignite the street, but inside, time slows. The choice has been made, love over fear. Yet the storm outside hints that their journey is far from over. Comment below. Would you risk everything for love, even when the world is watching? Love doesn't need permission. It just needs courage. The following morning, sunlight poured through the cafe windows, catching the glint of rain-soaked streets outside. Sophia and Ethan sat across from each other at the small counter, untouched coffee between them. Yet neither noticed the steaming mugs. They were too busy in a world of their own. Outside, the city was buzzing. Headlines had spread like wildfire. Barista or billionaire? Sophia's secret revealed. But inside, in this small cocoon, none of it mattered. Ethan reached across, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Ready to face the world? He asked softly. Sophia smiled, a mixture of relief and newfound confidence. Yes. As long as we do it together. Weeks passed, and the cafe became a symbol of more than just coffee. It became a place where their story began, a quiet sanctuary amidst the chaos of fame and wealth. Sophia embraced her success without fear, no longer hiding who she was. And Ethan, beside her, was not just a partner, but a shield, a confidant, a mirror of the love she had always wanted but never dared to believe in. The couple hosted charity events, surprising patrons with generous acts, showing that wealth wasn't about power. It was about heart. Their love story became the talk of the city, inspiring others to trust in love despite societal expectations. Every glance, every touch, every shared laugh reinforced that the real treasure wasn't money. It was each other. One evening, as the cafe lights dimmed and the last customers left, Ethan leaned close. I know you're incredible, he whispered. Not because of what you own, but because of who you are. And I promise, I'll never forget that. Sophia looked into his eyes, heart full. And I promise I'll never forget you. Comment below. Have you ever fallen for someone who surprised you in ways you never expected? Share your story. Thank you so much for watching my story all the way to the end. Your support means everything. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.